They thought he was just another railroad worker counting down years to retirement, someone who spent his days collecting tickets and announcing station stops. What they didn't know was that Marcus had once led midnight raids into terrorist compounds, had rescued hostages from impossible situations, and still maintained skills that could turn a passenger train into the most secure transport in America. Welcome to our channel. Before we dive into this incredible story of hidden identity and unexpected heroism, tell me in the comments from which city are you watching this video today. And if you believe these stories of quiet guardians deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button, because sometimes your protector wears a blue uniform and carries a ticket. Punk, the Denver Express, rolled through the Colorado mountains every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, carrying passengers from Denver to Kansas City. Marcus Stone had been working this route for 12 years, punching tickets, checking identification, helping passengers, and making sure everyone reached their destination safely. To the regular travelers, he was part of the scenery as familiar as the mountain views. Marcus was 51 years old, with graying hair, weathered hands, and a quiet demeanor that suggested he was exactly what he appeared to be: a career railroad employee. But Marcus Stone was much more than he appeared, and the signs were there for anyone who knew what to look for. His movements through the cars weren't random. They were systematic patrol patterns. His eyes tracked faces with precision. His positioning was tactical, providing cover options and clear sight lines. When Marcus checked tickets, he was conducting identification sweeps, noting inconsistencies in behavior, cataloging anyone who seemed nervous. When he helped with luggage, he was assessing passengers for concealed weapons. The conductor bag he carried contained more than railroad equipment hidden among the forms, and hole punch were items that definitely weren't railroad issued, including zip ties, emergency medical supplies, a tactical knife, and communication gear. Marcus knew every regular passenger by name: Mrs. Thompson, who visited her daughter in Kansas City every month, the business travelers who worked on laptops, the college students who took the train home for holidays. He cataloged their normal behavior, and when something deviated, Marcus noticed immediately. What the passengers didn't know was that they were being protected by someone who had spent 15 years conducting the most dangerous operations in military history. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Stone, Navy SEAL. Team 6 specialized in hostage rescue and counterterrorism. Marcus had participated in classified missions, had rescued American citizens from terrorist compounds, had been awarded the Navy Cross Silver Star, Bronze Star, and Purple Heart for actions that remained classified. But that was his previous life, a life he had deliberately left behind 8 years ago when an IED explosion had damaged his left leg and ended his operational career. The railroad job had seemed perfect, honest work that allowed him to protect innocent people without them knowing they needed protection. He could maintain awareness, provide security, and ensure safe passage while appearing to be a helpful conductor. For 12 years, it had worked flawlessly. Marcus had prevented 2 potential robberies, had provided medical assistance during passenger emergencies, and had quietly reported suspicious individuals to federal authorities until the Tuesday afternoon when 5 armed men boarded his train with plans to turn the Denver Express into their mobile headquarters for the largest armed robbery in Colorado history. Marcus was collecting tickets in car 4 when he first noticed them, 5 men who had boarded separately but were now moving with coordinated purpose. Their body language was wrong too, alert, too professional for ordinary passengers. These men weren't tourists or business travelers, they were operators. He continued his normal routine, but shifted his observation pattern to maintain visual contact with all 5 subjects. They had spread themselves strategically, 1 in the lead car, 1 in dining, 2 in passenger sections, and 1 near the rear exit. Controlling all access points, Marcus activated the small transmitter in his badge. Control, this is Stone. I have 5 subjects displaying tactical coordination. Request immediate background check. Stone, this is Control. We show normal passenger manifest. No alerts. Continue. Standard protocol. Marcus wasn't satisfied. Something about these men triggered every instinct developed through special operations. They moved like professionals, carried themselves like people accustomed to violence, and were all carrying identical black duffel bags. He began a casual walk through the train, conducting routine passenger services while gathering intelligence. The first man was reading a newspaper, but tracking movement. The second man had ordered coffee, but was scanning faces. The two men in passenger cars provided overwatch, and the fifth man kept checking his watch. Marcus had learned to read these indicators during combat deployments. These men were planning something violent, and from their positioning, it was about to happen soon. He reached the front of the train and activated his emergency communication control. This is Stone. Updating previous report. 5 subjects are definitely hostile. They have positioned themselves for train control request. Immediate federal response. Stone, maintain normal operations until we can verify the threat. Do not take any action that might escalate the situation. Marcus understood the cautious response, but his experience told him they were past hoping this was a false alarm. These men had the positioning, coordination, and equipment for a major operation, and civilian lives were about to be at risk. He began moving back through the train, but this time he wasn't collecting tickets. He was conducting final reconnaissance and preparing to do whatever was necessary to protect the 137 passengers. That preparation included reaching into his conductor bag past the legitimate railroad equipment to items he had hoped never to use again, but had maintained in perfect operational condition just in case this day ever arrived. The coordinated attack began at exactly 3:47 p.m. 5 men simultaneously revealed automatic weapons and began shouting commands. "Ladies and gentlemen," the lead hijacker announced over the train intercom, "this train is now under our control. Everyone will remain seated, hands visible, no sudden movements, and no one gets hurt. We will be making an unscheduled stop shortly, where you will all be transferred to secure holding areas." Panic erupted throughout the cars, screaming, crying passengers diving for cover, children clutching their parents, the organized chaos that Marcus had witnessed in combat zones. But Marcus didn't panic. Instead, he activated protocols that had been drilled into him through thousands of hours of hostage rescue training, moving with calm precision toward the rear of the train while appearing to be nothing more than a frightened railroad employee. The hijackers had made their first error. They had assumed all railroad personnel were civilians with no combat training. They were about to discover that assumption was incorrect. Marcus reached the rear car where one of the gunmen was guarding the exit, ensuring no one could escape or call for help. The man was focused on the passengers, pointing his weapon at anyone who moved too much, completely unaware that death was approaching from behind. Marcus struck with speed and precision developed through years of combat training. His hand shot out, striking nerve clusters that dropped the gunman unconscious. The weapon was secured, and the first threat was neutralized. Control. This is Stone's situation has escalated to active hostage-taking. 5 armed subjects have seized control of the train. I am moving to neutralize threats and protect passengers. Request immediate federal response to coordinates I am transmitting. Stone, you are ordered to stand down and wait for federal response. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Marcus ignored the order. His training, his experience, and his responsibility to protect innocent lives overrode bureaucratic caution. He had been in situations like this before, knew that waiting for outside help usually meant watching hostages die. Marcus approached through the connecting door, moving with stealth that had made him legendary. The man never saw him coming. A sleeper hold applied with precision rendered the gunman unconscious. His weapon was secured, and Marcus continued forward. 3 hijackers remained, and they were about to discover that their carefully planned train robbery had just become a running battle against someone who had spent his career winning battles that couldn't be lost. Marcus moved through the train like a ghost, using passenger panic as cover while maintaining tactical discipline that kept innocent people out of the line of fire. The third hijacker was in the dining car, using terrified passengers as human shields while demanding the train engineer stop at specific coordinates. This required a different approach. Direct assault would risk civilian casualties. Marcus had trained for these scenarios, hostage rescue in confined spaces requiring surgical precision. He positioned himself in the galley area, using stainless steel surfaces as mirrors to track the gunman's movement. waiting for the brief moment when the hijacker would be isolated from hostages. The opportunity came when the man moved to check his radio. Marcus struck from behind, using the same nerve techniques that had neutralized the first two hijackers. But this time, the gunman managed a partial warning shout before losing consciousness, alert enough to let the remaining two hijackers know their operation was compromised. Now, stealth was no longer an option. The fourth hijacker was in car 2 holding a family hostage while screaming into his radio that someone was killing his team members. The fifth hijacker, the leader, was in the engine compartment, forcing the engineer to stop the train at an isolated location where vehicles were presumably waiting. Marcus made a tactical decision that prioritized saving the family being held hostage. He approached car 2 with weapons drawn, using passenger seats as cover, while the hijacker became increasingly panicked. "Drop your weapon," Marcus called out, using his command voice honed through years of leading men in combat. "You are surrounded, your team is down, and federal agents are en route. Surrender now, and no one else gets hurt." The hijacker responded by pressing his gun against the head of a 10-year-old boy, threatening to kill the child. Unless Marcus backed away, it was exactly the kind of situation Marcus had trained for years to handle. Situations where hesitation meant innocent death and decisive action meant everyone went home alive. Marcus took the shot, a precision round from 12 feet that dropped the hijacker instantly without harming any of the hostages. The family was freed, the car was secured, and only one threat remained. The leader in the engine compartment, who was about to discover that Lieutenant Commander Marcus Stone had spent 15 years in special operations to be stopped by a single armed criminal on a passenger train. Marcus approached the engine compartment with weapons ready and tactical advantage. On his side, the lead hijacker had barricaded himself with the engineer as a human shield, but had made the critical error of assuming he was dealing with ordinary railroad security. Through the reinforced glass, Marcus could see the situation clearly, one gunman holding a pistol to the engineer's head while frantically trying to coordinate with a team that was no longer responding to radio calls. The train had stopped at the predetermined location, an abandoned rail yard where 2 vehicles waited with engines running, the perfect extraction point for a robbery that was supposed to net millions in cash and negotiable bonds being transported in the cargo car. But the plan was falling apart because none of the hijackers had anticipated that their target train was protected by someone with the skills and experience to turn their coordinated attack into a one-sided slaughter. Marcus activated his emergency communications control. "This is Stone. 4 hijackers neutralized, 1 remaining in engine compartment with hostage. I need immediate backup to secure extraction vehicles waiting at coordinates," I transmitted. Stone federal response is 15 minutes out, maintain position, and do not engage. 15 minutes was too long. The engineer was showing signs of medical distress, and the remaining hijacker was becoming increasingly unstable. As his radio calls went unanswered, Marcus had been in enough hostage situations to know that panicked gunmen made fatal decisions. He made entry through the rear access panel of the engine compartment, using skills developed during shipboarding operations in the Persian Gulf, moving with silence that allowed him to position himself behind the hijacker before being detected. "Drop the weapon." Marcus commanded, his voice carrying absolute authority. "This is over. Your team is finished. You have nowhere to go. Release the hostage, and you live to see trial." The hijacker spun around, keeping the gun pressed against the engineer's head, his eyes showing the wild desperation of someone whose carefully planned operation had become a disaster. "Who are you?" he screamed. "You can't be railroad. You fight like military." Marcus looked at him with the calm, steady gaze that had intimidated terrorists in 3 different combat zones. "Lieutenant Commander Marcus Stone, United States Navy. Your operation is terminated. Release the hostage." For a moment, the hijacker hesitated, torn between surrender and the knowledge that his criminal career was over. Then he made the wrong choice. Marcus ended the threat with precision that protected the hostage and secured the train. The engineer was safe. The passengers were protected, and the Denver Express was back under legitimate control. But as federal agents swarmed the scene, Marcus Stone quietly returned to his conductor duties, helping shaken passengers gather their belongings, ensuring everyone received medical attention, and preparing incident reports that would somehow minimize his role in the resolution. Because 12 years ago, he had chosen a quiet life and intended to keep it that way. The FBI investigation that followed revealed every detail of Marcus Stone's background that he had spent 12 years keeping carefully hidden. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Stone, Navy. SEAL Team 6 holder of the Navy Cross Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and classified commendations for hostage rescue operations that remained officially secret. Agent Sarah Martinez, who led the investigation, found herself interviewing a man who had single-handedly prevented what could have been one of the largest train robberies in American history. Why railroad work? Agent Martinez asked while studying military records that documented someone who had been among the elite of the elite. Because I wanted to serve people without having to kill anyone. Marcus replied with quiet honesty. I wanted to protect innocent travelers, help families reach their destinations safely, make sure children had safe journeys. I was tired of war, tired of violence, but you maintained your skills, kept your tactical edge. Old habits die hard. Agent Martinez, you never know when circumstances might require you to protect people, and today proved I was right to stay ready. The media wanted exclusive interviews. Marcus declined. The railroad wanted to promote him to management. Marcus asked to keep his regular route. The federal government wanted to offer him positions with various agencies. Marcus politely refused. All Marcus wanted was to return to collecting tickets, helping passengers, and maintaining the peaceful routine that had given him purpose for 12 years. But everything had changed now. The passengers who rode his route treated him with obvious respect and gratitude. The railroad employees who had worked with him for years looked at him with new understanding. Children would point him out as the conductor who saved everyone. Marcus found himself uncomfortable with the recognition he had spent 12 years perfecting the art of being ordinary, and now everyone knew he was anything but ordinary. 3 weeks after the incident, Marcus was conducting his normal ticket collection when a young mother approached him with her son. My boy wanted to thank you personally, she said, for keeping everyone safe. He wants to be just like you when he grows up. Marcus knelt down to the child's eye level and spoke gently. Being a conductor is about helping people travel safely, making sure families stay together and everyone reaches home. The important thing is caring about others. But you're a hero, the boy said. Marcus smiled. Sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is ordinary work done with extraordinary care. Today, Marcus Stone still works. The Denver Express still collects tickets, still helps passengers with their luggage, still makes sure everyone reaches their destination safely. But now there's a small plaque in the employee break room placed there by grateful railroad management. In appreciation of conductor Marcus Stone, whose courage and skill saved 137 lives and reminded us that heroes work among us every day. Marcus tried to have it removed, but the railroad refused. Passengers deserve to know they are traveling under the protection of someone who has dedicated his life to keeping people safe. The tactical equipment stays in his conductor bag because Marcus understands that retirement from active duty doesn't mean retirement from the responsibility to protect innocent people. It just means finding new ways to serve. Sometimes the most important missions happen on passenger trains. Sometimes your protector wears a blue uniform and punches tickets. Sometimes a warrior trades his weapon for a clipboard, but never stops standing guard. Marcus Stone had found his perfect post-military assignment, guardian of travelers who trust their safety to a man they think is just another railroad employee, but who possesses skills that can turn any situation into a victory for the innocent. Have you ever met someone who seemed ordinary until extraordinary circumstances revealed their true nature? Share their story in the comments, because heroes are everywhere, usually wearing work uniforms instead of military dress. Subscribe to our channel for more tales of hidden warriors, quiet protectors, and everyday heroes who keep us safe while we go about our lives, never knowing how much courage travels with us, because sometimes the most important battles are won by people no one suspects until the day they save your life.